Hey guys, Joel here with Precision Rifle Network. Have you checked out the NRL Hunter series of matches yet? I have not. It's been on my bucket list since they started, just haven't been able to pull the trigger on one of those two-day hunter matches yet. Well, I started building up a rifle and found it's actually kind of difficult to stay under 12 pounds. At least if you want to be able to, have all the creature comforts that you're used to, like coming from Precision Rifle Series or NRL, standard competition into the NRL Hunter, you've come to be used to a certain type of rifle. And this is a bit different, in a good way, I think, because you go lighter weight, you don't have quite the recoil mitigation because you're running a 30-pound rifle. Now all of a sudden, if you want to be in the lightweight class, you got to be sub 12 pounds. And so this is my dilemma right now, and I thought I'd make a quick video of just my initial struggles. I feel like I'm starting all over again when it comes to precision rifle competition, because I've been doing the PRS style of competition for quite a few years now, and now I'm getting back into the competition scene this year. I've already signed up for my first NRL Hunter match, and I'm running into rifle issues as far as weight is concerned, like meeting the requirements. So my rifle is a Tikka T3X, just standard action. I put a proof carbon barrel on it, which we chambered 6.5 Creedmoor. But this is actually a 6 Creed, but I'm switching that out to 6.5 just because there's that power requirement, although I may not have to worry about the power factor if I run factory ammunition, is my understanding. No, it still has to be 130 grain. See, I'm learning all this stuff as I go. It still has to be 130 grain or higher, so I'm still gonna have to switch this to 6.5 Creedmoor and then probably run factory ammo through it if I can't meet the power factor. But I should be able to with standard 140 grain or even 130 grain 6.5 Creed ammo, so that shouldn't be an issue. Tikka Action proof barrel. I've got the MDT LSS chassis on here. This is the aluminum version with their lightweight aluminum and composite buttstock. And what I want to know for my own personal reasons is the difference between the MDT LSS chassis by itself, the weight, compared to say a KRG Bravo, just standard weight made for the Tikka. And then we'll determine where we can start cutting weight. I'd love to be able to get an XLR Element chassis, or even MDT's new HNL or HLN chassis, the carbon fiber one that's super lightweight. I'd love to be able to switch to something like that, which will save me like half the weight of the chassis, I'm guessing. I know that the Element's like 1.5 pounds. So what I'm gonna do in this video is swap out the chassis here. I'm gonna take the barreled action out. We're gonna weigh the different components by themselves on the scale here and see if the chassis alone here, as far as just what I have without having to buy anything else, if I can save some weight. So that's what I'm doing. Here we go. Okay, so let's get the scale on here. I'm going to go in pounds. First, the MDT LSS, 2.956. And now the KRG, 3.03. So 2.956 versus 3.03. So my issue here is not so much about the weight. They're almost identical in weight, but the KRG is slightly longer and it's got a little bit more weight in the front end. Right now with the LSS, I'm having trouble balancing the rifle. It's definitely butt heavy, and I think I'll be able to balance it a little bit better with the KRG. So I'm going to put the rifle into here, and then we're going to see if we can balance it, and I'll see. I think I'm still below 12 pounds technically, but I just want to be able to see if I can balance it a little bit better. Plus, a potential benefit is that the bottom on this is completely flat, and so it is on the LSS as well, but it's a little bit wider, and I would think just maybe a little more stable because of that. So I'm going to swap that out next. In case anyone was wondering, so the Tikka T3X, I've got these zero comp 4-20 up top on here. Just a little over 2 pounds on that scope. I just didn't want to compromise on a quality optic for this kind of a match, so I was willing to go a little heavier. I could save like 8 to 10 ounces by going with like a Leupold Mark V, but I just feel like the Zico glass is so much better. I was okay with that. And then I'm running the EC tuner brake up on front, which I don't really want to compromise for that either. I mean, it's negligible difference, a few ounces difference, you know, to switch that brake with something else. So anyway, I'm kind of curious, now that I've got it apart, what the weight of the barreled action is by itself. So let's figure that out here. That's 7.948. 7.9, basically 8 pounds for the barreled action all by itself, without the chassis at all. So looking at 8 pounds, and then, you know, basically 3 pounds for each of the chassis, 9, 10, 11. So that gets me up to my 11 pounds that I was finding, and that's not including the bipod. If I add the bipod, then, you know, we're looking at another 8 ounces or so. Sorry, half a pound, about half a pound. So it keeps me below 12, I think, overall for being in the light class. But yeah, so let's get this thrown in here. Obviously, I'll torque these down properly later. Right now, I just wanted to get it thrown in there and see what we're dealing with. So see, I'm still a little, if my balance point is directly in front of the mag well here, which is where I want it, then I'm still a little butt heavy on the rifle, though it's not nearly as bad as with the LSS. So I'm going to throw a rail up here on top, a polymer rail section probably, and the bipod, and we'll see how it balances then. The other issue that I will throw out here is that on the LSS, and again, this isn't anything wrong with the LSS at all. I'm a huge MDT fanboy. I love their products. My main PRS type gun is still on an MDT ACC chassis, no desire to change, yada yada. I'm not bashing these at all. I'm just finding issues with this particular chassis. So I want to be able to run a tack table, like a MUB, on top of my tripod, and then put a barricade bag on top of that. Where the M-LOK slots are milled out here in the front of the LSS chassis puts my pick rail probably 1.5 inches back from the end of the rifle, whereas I could, or from the chassis rather, whereas I want to get that bipod further out in the front, help with the balance issue, help with the stability issue using the bipod, but then also it just decreases the amount of space that I have between the bipod mount and the barricade stop here for a bag to fit. And you know, because this is angled out to the front instead of a straight up and down on the bottom, it also pushes the positioning of the bag further out, and just creates more leverage towards the rear, which I don't want. So I'm thinking that the negligible difference, the couple of ounces difference in weight of the chassis, this one I'm going to be able to balance a little bit better. I'm going to be able to get it right flat up against the magazine well, and I'll be able to mount my bipod mount further out here, and that'll help with the balancing issues. So that's where I'm at. Okay guys, I went ahead and added the KRG short section of Picatinny rail here that came with the chassis, and got that all mounted up, and then threw the bipod on it. Now I'm going to go ahead and weigh this again and see where we're at. We were basically right at 3 pounds, rounding up before, so let's see what we got. Oops, I'm in ounces. Let me change to pounds. Okay, in pounds here. 3.9 pounds. That's with the Picatinny rail section added and the bipod. And we were at 8 pounds rounding up with this guy, I believe. Yeah, 8 pounds there. .9 there should still keep me under 12 pounds and get me a more balanced rifle. All right, and there she is, balancing right on that balance point where I want it to balance. So I think we're going to be good. Now I'm going to get a full mag in there on the clock, and it's going to be slightly rearward, but it's not enough that I think I'm going to have to worry about it. Whereas before, it was definitely enough that I was going to have to worry about it. So I'm okay with that, I think, sitting right where it is.